Welcome to our deep dive on the high-score debt trap and how to strategically finance large expenses. First, we will set the stage with the dilemma many people face when using excellent credit and home equity. Next, we will compare 0% APR balance transfers to HELOCs to identify the least expensive option. Then, we will walk through a step-by-step decision process, followed by a worked example so you can apply the math confidently. After that, we will explore diagrams and timelines to visualize an optimal plan. And finally, we will conclude with key takeaways and a summary. Let's begin. Here's our agenda. First, we'll define the financing dilemma. Next, we'll examine the hidden costs of 0% offers and the role of a HELOC as a safety net. Then, we'll go step by step through how to decide. After that, we'll work an example using simple math. Additionally, we'll visualize the decision with diagrams and a timeline. We'll also test your understanding with quizzes. Finally, we'll end with key points, a summary, and a brief disclaimer. Before we proceed, a quick disclaimer. This video is for educational purposes only and does not constitute financial advice. Everyone's situation is unique, so you should consult a qualified financial professional or your lender before making decisions. With that in mind, let's continue. Here is the dilemma. On one side, a 0% APR balance transfer card offers an introductory interest rate, but usually charges a 3 to 5% fee on the amount transferred. On the other side, a HELOC generally provides lower, more stable interest rates compared with credit cards after the promotional window. The key question becomes whether the upfront balance transfer fee is cheaper than the interest you would pay on the HELOC over the same period. Importantly, the 0% strategy only works if you are certain you can fully pay off the balance before the promotional period ends. Otherwise, the go-to APR can quickly erase any savings. With that context, let's examine what makes 0% not truly free. Let's break down why 0% is not truly free. First, there is the balance transfer fee, usually 3 to 5% of the amount you move, and that is paid upfront or added to your balance. Second, there is the opportunity cost of using a chunk of your credit limit, which can increase your credit utilization ratio. Third, if you miss the payoff deadline, the go-to APR applies to the remaining balance, which can significantly raise costs. Fourth, there may be transfer caps or limits, and other fine print you must check. Finally, 0% strategies usually require aggressive monthly payments to retire the balance before the deadline, which places pressure on your cash flow. Now that we understand the hidden costs, let's look at the HELOC safety net. A HELOC typically offers lower and more stable interest rates compared to the rates that apply to credit cards after promotional periods. Additionally, some HELOCs allow interest-only payments during certain phases, providing short-term flexibility, though you should confirm details with your lender. Crucially, a HELOC can serve as a reusable credit line to absorb any remaining balance just before a promotional period ends. This gives you a predictable backup plan if your payoff timeline slips. For longer repayment horizons, a HELOC is often a better fit than pushing beyond a short 0% window. With both options outlined, let's move into a step-by-step way to choose the cheapest path. Here is the practical process. First, estimate the total project cost and the amount you intend to place on a card or transfer. Next, identify the length of the 0% promotional window and the exact balance transfer fee. Then, confirm the HELOC's annual percentage rate and whether payments will be interest-only or amortizing during your comparison window. After that, compute approximate costs. For the balance transfer, the primary cost is the fee, which equals the transfer amount times the fee percentage. For the HELOC, if you keep an interest-only balance, estimate interest as amount times APR times the fraction of the year. If you plan to pay the balance down evenly over the period, estimate interest using 1/2 of the amount times APR times the fraction of the year. Now, check your monthly net disposable income to ensure you can actually clear the balance before the promotional period ends. If the transfer fee is lower than the HELOC interest during that window and you can pay off on time, the 0% card is likely the better first choice. Finally, schedule an automatic reminder to move any remaining balance to the HELOC a few weeks before the promotional deadline, and set milestones to monitor your payoff progress. With this process in hand, let's visualize the decision. This flowchart begins with the question of needing to finance a large expense. It then gathers critical inputs: the balance transfer fee percentage, the number of promotional months, the HELOC APR, and monthly disposable income. The first decision checks whether the balance transfer fee is less than the HELOC interest you would pay during the same promotional window. If the fee is lower, we then verify that your disposable income allows you to pay off the balance before the promotional period ends. If both conditions are satisfied, you proceed with the 0% balance transfer first. If you cannot meet the payoff timeline, or if the fee is not lower than the HELOC interest, the flow directs you to use the HELOC instead. There is also a safety step instructing you to move any remaining balance to the HELOC before the promotion expires. Finally, a warning note highlights the penalty APR risk if you miss the deadline, reinforcing the importance of disciplined execution. Now that the logic is clear, let's apply real numbers. Let's walk through a concrete example. Suppose you have a $30,000 renovation. Option A is a 0% balance transfer with a 4% fee and a 10-month promotional period. The fee is $30,000 times 4%, or $1,200. To fully pay off before the deadline, you need to pay roughly $3,000 per month. Option B is a HELOC at 8% APR over the same 10 months. If you hold an interest-only balance, the interest would be approximately $30,000 times 0.08 times 10/12, which equals $2,000. If instead you pay the HELOC down evenly, your average balance is about half, and the interest estimate drops to about $1,000. Comparing the two, if you can afford $3,000 per month and eliminate the balance within the promotional period, the $1,200 fee is likely cheaper than $2,000 of interest. However, if you cannot sustain those payments, you risk the go-to APR applying to the remaining balance. In that case, beginning with the HELOC may be more prudent. Now, let's test your understanding with a quick quiz. Quiz time. Which option is cheaper over 10 months? A 0% balance transfer with a 3% fee on $25,000, or a HELOC at 7.5% APR interest only for 10 months. Option 1 is the balance transfer. Option 2 is the HELOC. Option 3 says they cost the same. Option 4 says there is not enough information. You may pause the video now to think about the answer. We will discuss the answer in the next section of the video. The correct answer is the 0% balance transfer with a 3% fee. The fee equals $25,000 times 3%, or $750. The HELOC's interest-only estimate is approximately $25,000 times 7.5% times 10/12, or $1,562.50. Thus, the balance transfer is cheaper, provided you pay off the balance within the promotional period. Next, let's solidify your strategy with a phased plan. Here is a phased plan. Begin with the cheapest source of funds, which is typically the 0% card if the fee is lower than the HELOC interest for your comparison period. Automate weekly or bi-weekly payments to increase momentum and reduce behavioral risk. Set multiple calendar alerts at 60, 30, and 14 days before the promotional end to ensure you act in time. If any balance remains 2 to 3 weeks before the deadline, move it to the HELOC to avoid the go-to APR. Throughout, monitor your credit utilization and overall credit health. With the plan defined, let's visualize the timeline over the 10-month window. This timeline starts in month 1, with the balance transfer to the 0% card and the associated fee. During months 1 through 9, you make aggressive payments, with progress checkpoints around months 3 and 6 to confirm you are on track. In month 9, you verify the payoff trajectory and adjust payments if necessary. 2 weeks before the end of month 10, you move any remaining balance to the HELOC to avoid the go-to APR. At the end of month 10, either the balance is 0 or the HELOC holds any remainder. Calendar reminders at 60, 30, and 14 days before the deadline help ensure nothing slips. Now, let's compare when to start with the card versus the HELOC. Here is a direct comparison. Prefer the balance transfer first if the fee is clearly lower than the HELOC interest for the promotional period. If your cash flow guarantees a full payoff on time, if you diligently set reminders and automate payments, and if you are responsibly pursuing rewards. Prefer the HELOC first if the balance transfer fee is comparable to or higher than the HELOC interest, if you are uncertain about paying off before the promotional deadline, if you prefer simplicity and stable payments, or if the added utilization could materially impact your credit score. With these trade-offs in mind, let's check your understanding with another quick quiz. Second quiz. If you cannot pay off a 0% balance transfer before the promotional period ends, what is the most likely outcome? Option 1 says the remaining balance starts accruing at a high go-to APR, eroding savings. Option 2 says interest is retroactively charged on the entire promotional period in all cases. Option 3 says nothing happens and the 0% rate continues. Option 4 says your credit score automatically increases. You may pause the video now to think about the answer. We will discuss the answer in the next section of the video. The correct answer is that the remaining balance starts accruing at the card's go-to APR after the promotional period ends, which can erode or even eliminate the savings you gained. Retroactive interest on the full period is not typical for standard balance transfer offers, though some deferred interest promotions can behave differently. Therefore, tracking the deadline and moving any leftover to a HELOC beforehand is essential. Next, let's highlight key points and then summarize. This table summarizes core cost factors. For a balance transfer, the upfront cost is the 3 to 5% fee. For a HELOC, upfront costs vary but can be minimal, or include low closing costs depending on the lender. During the comparison window, the balance transfer rate is 0%, while the HELOC has a variable APR that is often lower than credit card go-to rates. The primary risk for the balance transfer is missing the deadline and incurring a high APR. The HELOC's risks include rate adjustments and the fact that it is secured by your home. In terms of flexibility, the balance transfer offers a short window with credit limits, while the HELOC provides a reusable line suitable for longer horizons. As a rule of thumb, the balance transfer is best for short-term payoff with strong discipline, and the HELOC suits longer payoff periods or any remainder after the promotional window. Here are the key points. Always calculate both paths by comparing the balance transfer fee to the HELOC interest over the same period. Only choose the 0% route first if you are certain you can pay off the balance before the promotional period ends. Use the HELOC as a safety net by moving any remaining balance before the deadline. Automate payments and set multiple reminders to reduce behavioral risk. Finally, even with excellent credit, the goal is to minimize interest exposure rather than simply relying on access to credit. To summarize, use the cheapest money first when the balance transfer fee is lower than the HELOC interest for your timeline. Confirm that your cash flow can eliminate the balance by the end of the promotional period. Set reminders and move any remaining balance to the HELOC shortly before the promotion expires. Track your utilization to protect your credit profile and avoid penalty APR. In short, responsible financing focuses on minimizing interest rather than chasing rewards alone. As we conclude, here's a final note. Thanks for watching. If you found this valuable, please like the video, share it with someone planning a big project, and subscribe for more content on smart financing strategies. Finally, tell us in the comments how you would structure your own plan, or what questions you still have. See you next time.